having that kind of mentality is every time I go into the gym and just thinking about, this could possibly be like the last time I even live. That's something I always kind of carry in every time on my training, that if I don't put everything I have into it, then I'll never get to where I want to go. So I've always had that feel there. Just whenever I got to powerlifting, it's got more to a specific focus versus me just trying to get bigger and stronger. Now to have a specific focus to be the best that I can be. So now that I have that, it's intensified quite a bit since I started.
Yeah, because I think it was Henry David Thoreau that said that many men go to their grave with their song still in them. I think when Rob's powerlifting is over, there'll be no more song in him. He's given it his all, and there's nothing's gonna be left on the field, so to speak.
That's right.
Hello, this is Josh Bryant. I'm here at Destination Dallas with a man that should need no introduction to you, the legendary Rob Hall. And we're going to talk to Rob today and do an interview with him and get to know him a little better. So say hello, Rob.
Hello, everybody.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How old are you? How long have you been doing this and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm from Killeen, Texas, which is by Fort Hood. Most people know that, the military base. Other than that, nobody knows where that place is at. So it's kind of by Austin. It's a bigger city. 28 years old. Been powerlifting for about 2.5 years now. It's been fun ever since I started 2015 in March, and I'm looking forward to what's coming up next.
Yep. What gym are you training out of right now for people that don't know?
Right now I'm at Big Tex Gym, which is in North Austin off of Cedar Bend Drive. It's open 24/7. You have membership access, really gym, family-friendly environment. Kids are allowed, stuff, pet-friendly environment as well. Veteran-owned, so it's a nice place to come train if you're in North Austin.
Okay, yeah, and so also just a little plug here. He's personal training people at Big Tex Gym. So, I mean, if you want legitimate training, I would suggest you, and you're in the area, I would suggest you go over and see Rob. So let's talk a little bit. So just talk a little bit how we kind of hooked up. So that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I've had the pleasure of training Rob for a year and a half now, and he's really come up a lot. And I can tell you this: there's nobody. I mean, if you look at the most focused people, it's hard to say who the most focused is, but this man would definitely make a good case for this guy. It's sort of like, sort of not to get too off subject here, but it's like everybody's got sort of like a purpose in life. It's like, God's endowed people with a purpose in life, and I feel like Rob's purpose is to be the best. So when you look at powerlifting like that, I mean, he's like here fulfilling his purpose. And it's like synchronized. It's almost like synergy. Like all this stuff's coming together, and there's no stopping them. So I got a few other guys here that make a good case for that too. But if you said, at the end of the day, Rob will never be the best at powerlifting, I don't think that'd be a very accurate statement. I think you make a good case when it's all said and done. His name could be at the top. So.
Come on. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Oh, perfect.
That was a great question. So tell everybody what your best lifts are so far.
Best squat and wraps is 832. Best squat and sleeve is 782. Best bench is 589, and my best pull is 837.
And these are all in meets too. And so, what kind of suit were you wearing? Like a triple ply suit or what?
No, people wish I was, but singlet. So it's all raw wraps or raw sleeves.
Okay, cool. And then so you have a meet. When's your? Let's do it interview style. When is your next meet?
Next meet's November 19th in Mandeville, Louisiana.
What do you want to hit there?
Looking to hit somewhere around 900 in the squat, 6 plus in the bench, and then high 800s in the deadlift.
Okay. Sure. So what, right now in preparation, what lift are you most confident in? Like say the meet was this week, and what feels the best so far?
My deadlift definitely feels the best so far. Just over the past year or so, I think my diet's gotten a lot better where my body's kind of transformed a little bit more from being kind of like fat in the stomach to kind of slim down. So my positioning's changed a lot more on the deadlift. So I feel a little bit more explosive in setting up my power that way. So far going into this meet. Bench is feeling good. Squats probably be like the most underdog for me when it's all said and done towards the meet. I just feel my deadlift is always.
What do you mean the
more
squats
natural.
could be the most underdog?
Because it's for me, my squats behind my other two lifts. I feel like it's cliche to say my weaker lift, because it's not. It's kind of well rounded. But I feel like I have the most to progress in the squats. So by the time it comes to the meet, 832 is going to be a breeze.
Yeah. You know, I would disagree to a point, because I think the way your squat's been going, and like, so say for instance you did the 775 or not for instance, you did do the 775 for Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that should you know, in a normal circumstance, say, you know, for training be at least like 830 or so right now, but you lift more in a meet, so I'd say like right now you'd be like 865 or so in a meet pretty safely.
Yeah, that's a safe bet for sure.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. So it would be no telling where you're at there too. And interesting enough, like I think a lot of times at the meets too, with your squat, people haven't seen it unleashed yet, because we're always kind of thinking ahead of the total, because when you're good in all three lifts, if say you go for a 20-pound PR and squat, grind it out for 8 seconds, then you're shot the rest of the day.
Right.
That defeats your total, because with your total, you're trying to, I mean, it doesn't matter if your squat goes up 300 pounds, your bench goes down 100, deadlift goes down 100, you gain 100 pounds your total. At the end of the day, that's what matters.
And I felt that so on my last meet we did in Corpus Christi, when I did the 782. I put a little bit more energy into that than I do on most of my thirds. So when I got down to the bench, fatigue in my back, kept sitting by the third press, and ended up missing that 600 press. And then by going into the deadlifts, I had to change strategies to make sure I hit the total that I wanted for sure. So I'm pretty good at adapting wise,
Sure.
especially in a meet situation, and making sure I'm aiming for the right thing that I should be aiming for, versus trying to go above and beyond and miss way more than I should.
Here we go. Come on, break it. Break it, break it, break it, break it. Come on. Halfway, come on. And stop.
Yeah, so see with Rob, somebody like this, that's this strong, you know, excuse me for using a Jungian term, but it's synchronicity with Rob's deadlifting. Everything dials in together. So he's pulling so hard that he has that kind of fatigue from that 6-second contraction. Like, so if you're doing these and you're not feeling much from it, you're not going all out. If you're not going all out in the isometric, it is useless as tits on a bullfrog, as we say. Yeah, I think that's a key thing, is you have to be able to adapt at a meet, because I mean, you know, you have to have a plan. And if everything's going great, what's going to happen? But at the same time, you know, if things go awry, you can't be, you know, sticking to your plan and missing lifts. So,
Yeah. So I had to change my my second attempt deadlift. So I opened up the same, just changed the second attempt just to where it was enough to go, and then the third one basically goes for gusto. If I get it, I get it. Miss it, I miss. But the second one was to make sure I had to hit that one. And the rotation for the next level up, it felt like it was going like 5 minutes at a time. So it was like, definitely have to nail the second one. If I miss the third one, well, I got the total I wanted.
Yeah. And it's you can get away with it a little more when you're going sleeves, because you don't have to worry about wrapping or anything like that.
Right.
So growing up, how'd you get started into lifting?
Football is how I got started. So when I made it to high school, they had a summer camp beforehand. Went to the summer camp. I wouldn't say I was the weakest one there, but I definitely wasn't the strongest one when I started. And by the time I left out of high school, I ended up being one of the stronger guys. One of at least the top 5 stronger guys. I can't remember the numbers I had then, but I remember my bench press was the top bench press out of there, and I was like 315 or so. And it was good for that, but I didn't think it was the greatest. They had a guy there who benched like 350 or something. While he was like a freshman or something. It was nuts. So there was no catching that guy. But ever since then, I stayed with my training, going into college. And that's probably the one thing that stayed there since I was about 15 was just the weight room. Always
Did you
trying to
play football in college? Or
I did. I played at University of Maryland, Baylor. 2 seasons of that. I did the off-season stuff, and one of their deals there at the school is to make sure you're really fast. So I went there to go play defensive end, but I wasn't very elongated in the body to be able to extend and be able to get to defenders like most of the other guys were. They were 6'3", 6'6", and stuff. Really, I'm 6 foot. My arms don't look like they're 6 foot wingspan, but they are. But it's really tight. And I'm good with power, so they moved me to defensive tackle. And I was undersized, about 250. So I tried to put on as much size as possible I could, but those other guys were 300 or so. So I had to work on my speed, which is basically where I had my explosiveness start building up, because it's all they were about, is being really explosive, and that's one of the things I built up from there. Staying in the weight room and then working on my explosive speed.
Because that's one thing that separates you from a lot of people, is you're very explosive. So,
and that was I don't know that to the college, because getting off the line was the most important thing. Whenever that ball was hyped, I had to be gone, because if I got caught in there against guys that are 300 plus, I'd get stuck. So my speed was one of the things I had to work on. Plus, I had the power back then too. I had around a 600 squat, and it was probably a high squat too, so football squat.
Yeah.
420 bench. Then we did do deadlifts. We did power cleans. My power clean was like 315 at the time. And then I think I ran a 465, 40. 5'10" was one of the record deals. I had like this top 5'10" but there as well. I remember the time. It was pretty fast. That was one of my deals, is going short distance really fast. So I worked on that quite a bit, making sure I would always try to challenge fullbacks or somewhere of that nature that were bigger and faster, so that way I could work on my speed to get faster.
That makes sense. So what about growing up? Weren't you on the wrestling circuit or something?
Way back in the day, my dad started wrestling when he was about 35. Basically the day Owen Hart had died in the ring. Was basically when he started. So since then, we've always watched wrestling on TV, but he would go to these places in Houston and several places, and take me and my brother with him, and we go around and mess around in the ring and stuff, help set it up, set everything around the ring, and kind of got into the business that way. And we would just basically work spots from what we seen from when my dad was training. So we would get in there, work a couple spots and stuff like that. And the believability of selling in the ring was pretty good for me. So I would always have my brother do some kind of crazy stuff, and I would make it look like I was dying or something. And I'd have these grown men come telling my dad how I was getting hurt in the ring. I walk around was fine. But it was fun.
Are you shooting and selling used cars or something now?
Tried that. Yeah, so I wrestled my dad a couple of times, a couple of matches, birthday parties around here just for fun, to take me around. And, people kind of surprised. My dad's a white dude, looks like a biker, redneck kind of style. And most people don't know that he's my dad, which we act pretty much the same in person.
Yeah.
Just look-wise, they get kind of surprised that there's this light-skinned, curly-headed guy that's his son. You don't look nothing body-wise. He's really tall. Somewhat muscular, and kind of short and stocky and stuff too. Right. So, but that rest of stuff was kind of fun for a little while.
And how old were you?
I think I started that in between 11 to 14.
Was that part of the reason you want to get into lifting? That's kind of where I wanted to hear the story, but so kind of going.
No, the wrestling part wanted me to get into lifting. Just getting lifting wise with the being stronger. This kind of happened when I started football, and then. Around 2012 was when I started kind of like taking my lifting a little bit more serious, my training wise, eating. I was eating 6 meals a day plus a couple shakes. I was working on getting my training certificate, and I was watching a lot of YouTube and learning how to do certain movements and grow and do things better and create different types of workouts. I would always make a different workout for every day just to kind of hit every muscle group all the time. And I would do this by like 5-6 days a week. And one of the main guys I watched was Kai Green. And so bodybuilding wise that way. And I just started training like that. And I got my brother a gym membership. I paid for him to go just so I had a training partner. And we go to the gym every day.
What gym were you starting out at?
Gold's Gym was where I started at. So I migrated several from Gym X by myself, training at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, all the way 5 o'clock in the morning. I had nothing to do. So went to Gold's, got him the gym membership to be my partner, and we haven't missed a gym since, no matter what. Even when I had drinking days back in the day and all that, and even if I got sick, I haven't missed a gym since. I'm pretty sure I did miss a gym before that, but just calculating that start date from 2012, I have not missed a gym session period, no matter what.
That's perfect. So you hear that? So that's 2012. So that's 5 years, probably close to 6. We're getting closer to 2018, 2017. So that's so you know, you don't need to give yourself a martini if you haven't missed a workout in a month. There's a lot of people that did a lot more further. So that's awesome. So so then when you got to powerlifting, were you at Metroflex, Big Tex, or where did you kind of get?
Well, I started kind of how that kind of went from being the Golds to the Fieldhouse Gym over in Harker Heights.
Yep.
Fieldhouse's gym had opened up in Temple, and they were saying they were open to a coach in Harker Heights. And I wanted to switch over because Golds, just the environment was more depressing, so it was kind of like exciting.
Like, what do you mean?
Just the gym bros and gym girls and stuff that come in there and just kind of would go around looking like they're coming out the club, and this just wasn't any kind of seriousness. The same kind of guys I've seen for over a year doing the same way, looking exactly the same. And me and my brother did quite a bit of changing. We started that training stuff. I was about 205 pounds. So I dropped a bunch of weight, and then I started building back up. And I think I got back up to 255 or so, 260. Fairly lean, and then I just wanted to get bigger. So I was feeling like I was already outgrowing gold, so the switch had to be inevitable to come to Fieldhouse. And then they had a Olympic Games at Golds. This is right before I left, and it was crappy. It was awful for my squat. It was like 575 or something like that. It was terrible. Bench was like 430, and then I think I deadlifted sumo like 585. But all the other stuff was cool. I mean, I got like several gold medals that, you know, who cares if anybody wants to go.
It's the gym bros.
Yeah. So it was cool. I had like a total like 1555 there. You know, wouldn't count it for a real power to me, but it was cool. Kind of started like, you know, the competition wise.
Yeah.
It's kind of started from that. And then Fieldhouse had something similar. It was like a last man standing kind of power to me, strongman thing.
Yeah.
But we only went through the squat, bench, and deadlift. So whatever was loaded on the bar, whoever kept continuing to go would go. And then at the end of the day, I think I pulled 655 conventional. I probably was like around 250 or so.
That's pretty good.
So I pulled that at the end of the day, and right after that, it was like, okay, I kind of got this bug to kind of try to be stronger and lifting weights. So I had a friend of mine, Destiny, who had been watching me do those meets and stuff, or that competition, and suggested I do a meet. So before she left, I told her I would, and I signed up for one for March 2015. So I took it probably about a couple months training powerlifting wise, looking up how to peak for a meet. You know, take whatever percentage, do 3x3, 2x2, 1x1, you're ready to go, kind of thing. So had 4 other friends sign up with me, and just kind of went and did it, and I haven't looked back since. It's been fun ever since. That first meet was pretty cool. I had my family go, and just the environment of all the people kind of excited to see you lift had made me want to stay with powerlifting for sure. And like, I didn't know any of these people, but they were like happy to help out. And at the end of the day, they were, you know, everybody's clapping and cheering for everybody. It wasn't just like how bodybuilding is. You pick one person, that's your guy, and you don't cheer for anybody else. So powerlifting was a whole lot more like a community, family-wise. I kind of stuck to, and I was kind of glad I did.
Well, that's it. You know, and I think the takeaway point with that, what he's just saying right there, is he's only powerlifting for a few years here, but it's not like the success didn't happen overnight. He said over 5 years, almost 6, never missing a workout, then doing all the, you know, the football training, all that stuff before that, from like about 14, 15 on. So don't watch us and be like, oh, hey, you know, he's 3 years and, you know, you're at the top. There was a lot more going into this of hard work, and that's 5 years of consistent training of never missing a workout is gonna take you places. So I think we should break into a little bit now. Let's talk about the off season this year. So what do you think? Tell everybody a little bit about the stuff we did that was a little bit different this year.
Doing the Hatfield squats and the sled drags. I feel like those were a little bit different from doing the traditional, you know, squatting and deadlifts and stuff. And they were a little bit more challenging. Kind of helped me kind of the workouts for powerlifting are kind of mundane. Same thing, squat, bench, over and over and over.
Yeah.
So switching to that kind of helped me get more excited about training again. and getting ready for what's to come. And I dropped a bunch of weight too, so I was feeling leaner. And although it was like kind of a struggle to kind of get started doing something a little bit different, I feel like it was a whole lot more intuitive in my growth wise for my start of my prep.
Yes.
So I feel like my explosive's gotten a lot better, my positioning's gotten a lot better, and just like my focus on making sure like I'm really locked into my lift versus kind of going into like more animalistic. So I got both working for me, but I just feel like more focused on each lift to make sure doing it just
I think one thing that improved a lot too was your leg drive on the deadlift. It's almost got to the point where we're having to work some more stuff on the top end because it's gotten so good. And I think, that was, and all the different bodybuilding type of movements helped a lot with that. So you're not just, all back or anything. And then also I think your bench press is a lot more explosive too, because what we did with the Hatfield squats is kind of saving his shoulders and all that kind of stuff too. Build up your leg strength. So it provided like a different stimulus. And from that stimulus, even though for a while I was saying, hey, you know what, like you're not going to be on this religious type of meal prep thing, you still ended up putting on muscle just because you had a different stimulus. Excited about training, gel out strong decree number 1, get excited about training, you were excited about training. And then when you switch back to the regular powerlifting meet, it's like, kid in a candy store, it's all excited again. Oh, yeah. And we prevent overuse and things like that, because at the end of the day, a lot of the time, people that are going to make it to the top are going to be the ones that don't get hurt. So, I mean, you'd be amazed that, like, you've been around powerlifting a long time like me, you'll see certain people that you didn't, they didn't seem like they were really going anywhere, but they've just kind of progressed without ever getting hurt, and now they're doing quite well. Right. So someone like you keep progressing at this rate without getting hurt. I mean, there's no end in sight. So, and that's what it takes, is a little more, as he gets stronger, there's going to be a little more complexity to this too, but not doing anything, for the sake of the camera and things like that. It's all, has a purpose. With this intentionality, do you think it was innate or learned, or how do you kind of?
I think it was inherited because of my father, just how he got into wrestling. He's 35 years old. It's not the time to kind of start to try to make it to the WWE. He had to try for WWE and stuff, and he had a chance to go to Japan. And he worked pretty hard to get to these spots, and he sacrificed time with his kids just to be able to do that. And that's kind of one thing he regrets a little bit from that. But at the same time, if he didn't do that, I wouldn't have that same type of drive to want to do the same kind of thing with what I'm doing with powerlifting. It's like, I feel like it's kind of just inherited from him, through watching him work and trying to be something, make something out of himself. So I think it's just kind of carried on to me that way. And for me, I feel like I'm doing the same thing for my son, trying to do the best that I can with what I got right now, and make it to the spot that I want to show him, hey, if you put all your work into it, you can basically do anything that you want to.
So I think that's an interesting point. So being, whether this is something learned or not, it can be learned, because, so Rob's, what he's saying is basically, I don't know if innate would be the right word. It was more nurture versus nature. It sounds like you were nurtured that way, right? Like versus like you're born with a spark. You said once this happened, you kind of had a realization. Right. So you got to think of it like this, okay? Your subconscious mind or your habitual mind is always at work. So whether you have, even if it's a self-sabotaging goal, like say, you keep every weekend, you swear to yourself it's the last drinking binge, and you show up to work and you're hammered and you can't even stand up straight. So that there is a goal behind that self-sabotaging behavior. Maybe you hate the job so much that getting in trouble for being inebriated at work is better than facing the reality of the job you hate. Or there's some reason behind everything you do, and you gotta, so that you can start to program yourself to think otherwise, because everything's at work. So eventually your words, your thoughts become your words, are going to become your habits and things like that. So you can start to, like we've talked about before already in previous videos, the affirmations, things like that, is you can start to program your habitual mind and make it the way you want to go. So you can start focusing, with intentionality. I mean, because some people got a damn monkey mind that's running wild all the time. They can't even focus for 30 seconds. If you told them to sit in a room and sit still and close your eyes and relax and concentrate on your breath for 45 seconds, they'd be on their, Instagram, like doing a live story to their 3 followers. Okay. that doesn't need to be that way. You need to be able to have some focus, and there's things you can do to program yourself that way.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of go the same thing over and over. Talk to myself in the mirror, before I go to bed. Say the same thing over and over. And just imagining that happening over and over. Kind of been doing that for a while. Just imagining what I'm going to be doing here the next few weeks. Every time I get ready for a meeting.
Yeah. So you guys should. You never seen the book? Or check it out. It's called "Man's Search for Meaning" by Viktor Frankl. He survived the concentration camps, and in that book, he talks about there's one thing nobody can ever take away from you, and that's your attitude. You can choose your attitude. So when you choose your attitude, you can start to program yourself with this intentionality, killer instinct, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, it's existentialism. It's your choice. So yeah. So it's been about a year and a half since you've been training. So let's talk about some of the improvements you've made. So where were you and where are you at now?
So beforehand, you're talking about total wise?
Yeah.
Total wise, I was just doing sleeves, so the total I had was 2,055, and now that I have a total in sleeves of 2,210, which is the second highest total in sleeves in 308 weight class in the world that I recall. I don't know else has a total higher than that besides Eric Lillibridge. And then in my wraps, I also have 2,226, which I feel is like so old now that when I say it's like it's time for a new one. So I'm ready to get that started.
Well, the thing is too, what Rob was able to do a meet last year, which I feel was a very good meet prep that I think would have. I mean, we have a different conversation, not from the sake of like the benefit was lost, but it's not on paper, so we're not going to be here like just pretending like it happened in a meet when it did. Like a lot of people say, oh, I did this, and oh, what meet? When I didn't do it, so we're not counting gyms lifts. But I think if people only knew what would have transpired, it just didn't work out that time. I guess it wasn't meant for that day, but it's about to be meant for that day.
Right. So beforehand, I was when I started, I just stayed in meet prep pretty much. I'd pick a different meet and just back-to-back beats and training over and over, 10 to 12 to 13 weeks, just over and over and over, just until I totaled 2,055. And by that time, I was so beat up and worn down, like I almost wanted to quit. Like 3 weeks before that last meeting, it was like, okay, it's enough. I can't take it anymore. We did the meeting, finally wanted to take a break, and then that's when I went to the seminar with you and Fred Hatfield. And,
okay.
That's when we started talking. And after that, we kind of got to work a few weeks later after that. So training's just been a little bit more specific and dialed in. I didn't really take any kind of like deload weeks per se, and the training was just kind of wearing me down pretty fast over that. Versus now, which I've kind of gotten accumulated how the training's going. So every time I get a deload, I feel really good. Like now, throughout the training, we've been together for over a year and a half. That my recovery wise and everything else feels really solid. I don't feel like super sore and beat up and worn down or anything. I feel like I'm always kind of ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because we're not. It doesn't matter. Like a lot of people are more concerned about how they do in the gym versus the meet. Like and then at the end of the day, if you're doing 3 meets a year, you need to be your strongest 3 days of the year, and the other 362 don't matter so much. I mean, they do matter, but they don't matter as much because I mean it's on the platform that counts. So that's like it's going to be put together, and you can't be your strongest. I remember Benedict Magnuson talking about he thought the problem with a lot of Americans is they're trying to be 100% peaked out all the time, and they never go back and do any. Even if you don't buy into that logic, at some point you have to do some base building and all that stuff too. Because if all you did is just continually go as heavy as you can, it's a good demonstration of strength. But where's the building of strength taking place? The buildings will be taken in these different phases. So we might have like a hypertrophy. So what's the objective of the off season? It's going to be to get a little different to stimulus, gain muscle hypertrophy, things like that. Versus at peaking, it's a demonstrate strength meet day. Come hell, high water, or purgatory, it's a strength meet day. So,
right. And I feel like the change in like the structure of the exercise that I do differs from what I was doing, basically like the amount of volume and stuff and kind of different things. Like we were doing like the 15 sets of one and stuff like that. I wouldn't even have thought of doing stuff like that, and I feel like that's also kind of helped carry over to my explosiveness and also in my ability to kind of have my will drive kind of grow some more, because trying to stick with that every 30 seconds and make sure every rep is exactly the same perfect every time takes a lot to kind of even think about, to even try to do. So on paper it kind of looks like, all right, this might suck a little bit, but you know, getting done with it, it's like just being ready and prepared for it afterwards. Like, okay, that was pretty easy. What's next?
Well, with that work capacity, what he's, you know, we're talking about there in the off season is building that work capacity. A lot of it is, it's basically like prepping you for prep. So, you know, because if you're not in shape for, you know, like shape's relative to what you're doing, but if you're not in shape to do like enough volume for the meet prep, you're not gonna be your best, because you're like, okay, you know, I can't handle these workouts. I got to stop early. You know, oh, I didn't do my assistance exercises. Why? Well, I was in too much, you know, mental anguish or physical pain or where the hell's wrong. And you can't, this like prepares you for that. It's like, you know, you're like, if you're in prep all the time, you couldn't just do more volume, because when are you building that base of that volume, you'd be annihilated.
Another good one too is my grip work. I feel like it's never been a problem for me having, ever since I started powerlifting, it's always worked out with not having straps as most as possible. Just make sure I was getting ready for you know, meet wise, exactly emulating that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, after a while my hands would, you know, hurt quite a bit, you know, before, but like now, as I feel like my grips improved so much that it's really not a problem. So I feel like my bench has gotten better because my grips gotten better also. And
for sure.
Even on deadlifts, it doesn't really bother me to hold anything at all. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to slip. It's never felt like it's going to slip ever. Even if I don't actually hit an actual deadlift and I miss it, it's never because of my grip. I just feel like that progression too also strengthened my other lifts as well. Just to be able to hold and
squeeze the damn bar
and make sure the stability of the bar is definitely intact for sure.
So I think with Rob's training, it would sort of be like, I compare it to like a micro evolution. If things are going well, in that sense of like, if you look at what a micro evolution would be, it'd be like Darwin's finches. The finches with the beaks that could get the food, they survive, reproduce, and thrive type of thing. That's how Rob's training is. We're picking it apart and like slowly evolving it. But since it's going well and he hasn't reached a plateau, it's not like we're trying to do a macro evolution where it's like a completely new species or completely new training style. It's like we're slowly evolving it and fine tuning it. And if there becomes a point where it's a dead on plateau, you know, we're not going to just, you know, do the same thing over and over and, you know, hope for a different result. But at this point, it's different, but it's not like completely reinventing the wheel. It's not like, okay, he's going from, you know, he deadlifts, you know, once a week to deadlifting, you know, 15 times a week. Just to, you know, it's very micro evolution. Keep track of what's working, and we slowly fine tune it to, you know, what needs to be accomplished.